everybody, it's Dr. Carmen Bryan, and this is Car Chronicles. You guys ready? Trying to get this hair out my eye so I can see you guys. Well, I can see something like you guys. Okay, well, anyway, let's get started. You guys ready? Let's do this. Let's talk about this infinite cycle of abuse. This infinite cycle. And you guys know the narcissist cycle of abuse. You guys know it. Remember, it was the idealization. Had to remember it myself. Idealization, devaluation, discard, hoover, back to the idealization, which is an infinite. There we go. An infinite cycle within a relationship that cannot be broken until you actually leave the relation or situationship. And many of you guys are in these situationship. And remember, I said hope is the last thing to go. And you're trying so hard to get them to understand, to make them love you. You can't make anybody love you. You can't make anybody see anything, because it's not the fact that the narcissist doesn't see it. They just figured that this system is working for them. They created a cycle. They created a cycle. They put this cycle in place, and it created a system in your situationship. And this system is functional. So why am I going to break this system or break this cycle within the situationship? Because it is working, it is benefiting me. And that's what the narcissists do. Now, do they articulate that? Do they think like that? They don't think like that. They just know that these processes are working. They get me what I want. You, on the other hand, and I'm only talking to who I'm talking to, because some of y'all get offended and be like, I resent that statement. Well, I'm not talking about you. But what I am saying is, some of you are trying to break the cycle inside of the circle. You can't break the cycle inside of the circle. You have to get outside of the circle. You have to count your losses and let it go. I know for some of you guys, it's a lot, it's years worth of investment. But have you ever heard of an arms loan, the arm loan? And it's I think it's called a interest only loan. The interest only loan, it's like buying a house with an arm, the arm loan, which is the interest only loan. One thing that you'll always know, you can pay, it's like paying rent. You'll never own your home. You'll never pay on the principal to pay off your home. In 30 years, you're still paying on the home. You'll never own the home. And that's just like with the narcissist. Number one, you're not going to own people, but a narcissist is not going to change. It's this infinite cycle loop of abuse that never ends. Have some of you guys seen the infinity symbol? The infinity symbol is that figure 8 that lays on its side, and really what it represents is, for people is eternal love. But the symbol itself is a mathematical symbol that represents infinity, meaning forever. And the infinite loop is also known as the endless loop. It is a piece of code that lacks functional exit, so that it repeats indefinitely. For those of you that are computer nerds, you know in computer programming, a loop is a sequence of instructions that continuously repeats until a certain condition is reached. In the cycle of abuse with a narcissist, and those of you that are wondering, yes, narcissist abuse is domestic violence. It is a cycle of abuse, and this is a continuous or an infinite loop that continuously repeats itself. It's a system that's in place with that narcissist that continuously repeats itself until a condition is reached. What condition is that? They don't have a problem with totally tearing you down from the inside out. They don't have a problem with totally tearing you up, because they hate themselves already, and so they can't handle anything that's good, anything that is wholesome. They can't handle peace, and so they'll destroy all that. And like I said previously, some of you guys are trying to break the infinite loop. You're trying to break this infinite loop, this system that is in place that is not going to change. And a lot of you are concerned, and you shouldn't be, that, does the narcissist love the new supply more than they love me? Well, it's an infinite loop. The only way that you broke this cycle or broke this loop, and it's not the loop itself that you broke, you got away from that system. So now this system, it may have some side effects, and you guys are dealing with the residue or the residual of the damage that is caused because it reached a certain condition. And number one, either you'll unalive yourself, they unalive you, or you leave out of the situationship, right? But there is residue. There are consequences to positive or negative actions, reactions, anything. That they are, what goes up must come down, in accordance to theory. But I know some of you will argue with that. But every decision that you make, every relationship that you take upon, regardless whether you were tricked into it or not, you still made a decision to get into that situationship, and it did have consequences, and it did leave residue. And some of you guys are so focused on trying to change this person because I love him or I love her so much. That does not change who they are. That doesn't mean, you question your own self. Yes, you love someone. You have the capacity to love someone deeply, and you invested your soul. You sold your soul. You invested your soul. And the residue, the residual from that is a broken heart, a broken mind, fog. Children that are damaged, that had to go through secondary trauma, or children that were traumatized, that you're trying to rebuild your life. You lost your finances, you lost your savings, your 401k because this person took advantage of it. They look like the family man, they look like the family woman, but they had no concept of what family is. There's no such thing as a give and take relationship with a narcissist. Everything is about the narcissist, but you're still trying to change the loop. You're trying to straighten this loop out, and this is an infinite loop. It forever goes in this cycle. It never ends. In your situationship, you always know. One thing you know that they are very consistent with is idealization, devaluation, discard, hoover, idealization. And some of you guys get discarded right in your house. Some of you guys get the silent treatment right in your house. Some of you guys are discarded and they still come home every night, because they know that's not a part of their system that they put in place. But there's a system in place. And when there's a system in place, that means there are rules in place to keep that system going. And some of you guys are trying to change the system. You cannot change the system. No, when that narcissist gets with a new supply, they take that entire system and implement it into that new relationship or situationship. It doesn't change. The only thing is that it's just like putting something in your body that has a different, like if you're O positive, and well, you guys know you can't mix blood, but let's just say you could. That's just like taking a heart and putting it into someone that is not O positive, so they may have to flush the heart. I'm not a medical person, I'm just making it up in my mind as I go, but they have to flush it to make sure the heart becomes an O positive to adjust to you, but that heart is a heart, and that's what that heart is going to do. Well, a narcissist, let's just use this analogy, okay? And I know it's not realistic, but just use this for your imagination. You take that narcissist that's got B blood or whatever, and now you take them out of yours, they match with you, and now they're having to calibrate with that new supply. So now they have to take upon the O positive blood so they can function in this particular situationship. It's not that the new supply is having to learn how to function, because the new supply has already been traumatized enough where their hole in their heart is big enough for this new narcissist, this person, to plug in that hole. And it's still a defective heart or a defective organ. That this narcissist is now with this new supply and having to calibrate themselves into the life of this new supply. And in calibrating, they're causing more damage to fit themselves into their lives and to mirror them. And really what happens is they train them to think and speak and act and do things like them. A lot of you got out of these situations and you looked at yourself and you were shocked at the fact that you acted the way that you acted. You spoke the way that you spoke. You thought the way that you thought. Now hindsight is 20/20. Now you can look back and think to yourself, I can't believe I lost myself. I can't believe that I went that low to even calibrate myself with this. And I can't believe that I let myself go this low in order to calibrate with this narcissist, in order for me not to lose this narcissist. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they were never yours to begin with. They were what you would consider, okay, I like air quotes, they were what you would consider community property. Community property. They belong to everybody. Anybody, and it's sad because those narcissists, they have a system in place to keep the infinite loop going. And no matter if they leave from you to get with a new supply, they just recalibrate themselves to that new supply. And then that system is at work, because that system is going to override whatever system is in place for the new supply. And it's going to override, and it's going to take dominance. It's going to take control of the system, rewire that system, and that system is going to fall in place with this infinite loop of domestic violence, of abuse, of just horribleness. That's not even a word. and they implement it in people's lives. And now you're living with the residue of your life. This is the residue now of the emotions and the trauma that you have been through and you're experiencing.